Headlines is presented by Calvo's Insurance, serving Guam for 80 years. Matson celebrating the 75th liberation with the people of Guam. Biba Guam. Cars Plus, reminding you to put your phone down while driving. Distractions won't get you there. Heads Up Guam. IP&E, fueling excellence. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it. And steaks, ribs, seafood, and our famous fresh garden bar, Ruby Tuesday. Good times you can taste.
Coming up, we take you to a special groundbreaking ceremony for Coast Guard Sector Guam and details to a powerless Sagan Gaturan Chamorro, plus a progress report on plans for a new Central Middle School.
Hafaday and good evening. Topping our newscast tonight, we head to Sumai for the historic groundbreaking ceremony for the soon-to-be-built Coast Guard Sector Guam's Commander Carlton Skinner building.
Think about the legacy of Commander Skinner, and it's really impactful.
Many may know him as Guam's first civilian governor, but he was much more than that. In the 1940s, he was a commander in the U.S. Coast Guard and championed desegregation efforts. Commander Carlton Skinner was successful in enabling the first fully integrated crew in the history of the Coast Guard and the Navy. Coast Guard Commandant Admiral Carl Schultz says he was a pioneer and knew the value of diversity.
The Coast Guard approved him to integrate a crew with 4 African American officers, 40 African American crew members of a total crew of 173. So think about that. That gets you north of 25% integrated crew, untested, and took it to sea. And he did that because he understood the value of diversity. He looked at us as a nation at war, and he realized for us to win, we needed to derive all the benefits of all the men that served, exclusively men at the time in uniform, and that included men of color.
After his service with the Coast Guard, President Truman would appoint Commander Skinner as the first non-military governor of Guam in 1949. He served in this capacity for 4 years. Governor Leon Guerrero said he was a visionary for Guam. He was responsible for the Organic Act, the Guam Territorial College, known today as the University of Guam. Leon Guerrero saying he was at the forefront of everything that was happening in our history that would lead us to where we are today.
He is a man for cultural diversity, a man for integration, a man for, I think, civil rights, a man, I think, for social justice, a man, I think, who is for making the inequities right for not just people here, but throughout the nation and throughout the country, throughout the world, I believe. And I was just sitting here thinking, I wonder what he would have said to me, being the first female governor of Guam. I was just kind of wondering what he would say and what his reaction would be. I would think he would say, right on. I think that's what he would say, knowing his history.
Aside from the construction of the Commander Carlton Skinner building, Coast Guard Sector Guam will also be receiving 3 new fast response cutters. One of them will be named after Chief Warrant Officer Oliver T. Henry, said to be the man who inspired Commander Skinner to start the first integrated crew.
The second Gaturan Chamorro strives to remain open in an effort to preserve the local culture. As Tomas Manglona reports, keeping the lights on is an issue.
The Sagan Katuran Chamorro may have launched operations in 2006, but they're still running on generators, costing hundreds of dollars a month. Board President Raf Unpinko.
One of our obstacles as far as getting power in is initially Tumuning area is slated to be underground power only. Though we're kind of in a gray area.
That gray area, he says, is that the nonprofit organization sits on 9 acres of land, calling into question whether the entirety of electrical energy needs to be underground. Not to mention, each of the 9 buildings on the property are built to be hooked up to the power grid.
Right now we're in ranch status, so we try and live off the grid as well as possible. Which we have been, from means of either solar power to even before we had water catchments.
He says they've been in talks with elected officials, though no commitments have been made. The estimated cost for installation is $60,000. Currently, the various cultural programs have off-site locations for meetings and other projects that require electricity. Amber Beneventi is the interim president of SKC and directs outreach during the time of need. She says there's a growing need for volunteers of all kind.
We want the community to know about Second Katuran Tomorrow. We want them to know that it's here for them, and also for our visitors to come and experience firsthand the culture, the Tomorrow culture up here.
They all hope that GovGuam prioritizes their mission to preserve the culture so that they can preserve the facilities for generations to come. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Tomas Manglotnya.
Turning to education, our Adriana Cotero has a progress report on the Guam Department of Education's plans for a new Central Middle School.
You're not asking for a K-3 or K-8. You're asking for a middle school. And as a board member, I will honor that request.
A request that is to convert Chief Brody Elementary into a central middle school. Voicing her stance, the longest-serving member and vice chair of the Guam Department of Education Board, Maria Gutierrez, made a public comment in support of the shift at a community session.
And it's funny that the concerns of Chief Brody being converted to middle school are people that are not residents of Tamuning. I'm a resident of Tamuning. We are looking at what is the best for our kids.
According to Superintendent John Fernandez, there are nearly 30,000 students enrolled in the system. Currently, students from the northern area of Tamuning and Dededo are going down to Pidi to attend Jose Rios Middle School.
We do have 41 schools. They're spread across the island. Many of these schools are there from the 50s and 60s. Where they may be located now may not be where the population has since grown and moved.
Seeing an increased density and steady growth with movement from south to north. Superintendent Fernandez says that about 2/3 of the population is based up north and about 1/3 or 9,000 students are in the south.
As we did that study up north, clearly in Dededo and parts of Tamuning, we're seeing that there's just so many kids and not enough schools.
And this effort to create a central middle school may be the key solution to the problem. Fernandez says it provides some relief for those students traveling far, as it would allow 800 students to attend. Currently, there are 250 students that attend Chief Brody Elementary School.
Yes, if we had a central middle school at that location, we would need to facilitate the shift of our students into the appropriate elementary school, and then work with the faculty and staff. A lot of the concern that we're hearing from the Chief Brody community is, when is this going to happen? If it's going to happen, what happens to us? And that's very important to us. And we don't want to ignore that. But for right now, we don't have the resources available.
Over 1 year ago, the Guam Education Board received a resolution passed by the Tamuning Tuman Harmon Municipal Planning Council, supporting this and seeking assistance of the legislature and governor for necessary resource funding. A legislation has been introduced by Vice Speaker Talina Nelson to appropriate the estimated cost of $10 million for this project.
About half of that amount is necessary to bring the existing facility up to, first of all, your health and safety standards, and a facility appropriate for older and bigger students. Mm-hmm. So right now you have a lot of, your toilet bowl or toilets that need to be adjusted, sinks that need to be raised, and things like that. We need to expand the cafeteria, so things like that. So it's about $4.7 million is what we estimate.
And the other half of about $5 million for a gym to provide middle school students with the option to join interscholastic sports. These renovations and upgrades would take at least a year to complete. In moving forward, Fernandez says the board has decided to make this conversion if the necessary financial support and resources will be made available by the legislature. Come August 13th, the start of the new school year, Superintendent Fernandez assures that this will still be home to the busy bees. For Guam's News Network, I'm Adriana Cotero.
News from the crime scene. A 27-year-old woman leaves a child at a local market in Mighty and now faces charges of child abuse. Chelsea Lynchar for Titano is accused of going to San Jose Mart on Friday night and leaving an 8-year-old boy behind. An individual saw the child asking if he knew where his parents were and then waited with him for about an hour before calling police. When initially interviewed by police, Titano allegedly told them that she didn't mean to leave him, but later said she went to spend time with her family and didn't want to be questioned about whose boy he was, and that she lost track of time and then started going back to the mart. She thought they were going to get a beer at a nearby store, but instead the driver went elsewhere and allegedly raped her. The incident occurring on Saturday at around 10:30 p.m. Police responding to a woman who was sitting along Route 4. She claims the man she met earlier that day had sexually assaulted her. She managed to get away and ran into the jungle, but he found her and threw her to the ground. She then saw a car driving by and ran for help. The suspect, 34-year-old Francis Fillarou, drove off in a green Nissan Xterra. Police picked him up about an hour later. He told them initially that the victim wanted drugs and didn't do anything to her. Fillarou later said he wanted to have sex with her and did for a short time. He said she went to use the bathroom and didn't return, and that he searched for her, but she ran from him. A 34-year-old man arrested for peeing in public along Happy Landing Road on Saturday afternoon. Octopus Pui Pui, also known as Octopus Pew Pew, Rambo Milk, and a few other aliases, was fully exposed, drunk and belligerent when officers tried to arrest him. Court documents state he was yelling and screaming on the way to the precinct and inside the holding cell. Pui Pui was arrested for indecent exposure, disorderly conduct, and public drunkenness. Stay tuned. We're back with more news after the break.
There are more ways to experience Guam via KUAM News, giving you what you want, when you want, and how you want it. From smart devices, Alexa, what's in the news?
Here's your flash briefing.
Over the web, on mobile, on streaming platforms, with immersive, interactive formats, and via social media where it's more than just content, it's conversation. More ways to keep you informed and entertained whenever you want it, wherever you are, on whatever device you're using.
The next generation Galaxy has arrived. See it and believe it. The Infinity O display is the most innovative Galaxy screen yet. Capture the wider world. Take stunning photos with a 123-degree field of vision. Use your phone to charge other wireless charging devices. Don't just stand out, stand apart.
Half the day, I'm in the club.
Half a day, welcome to Two Lovers Point.
Half the day, I'm in the club.
Matson is in this community. We've been in this community for decades. We're gonna be in this community for decades to come. Things will get busy, things will get quiet, but we're gonna be here. We're your hometown carrier. And that matters to us.
Reliability is the core of our business. We take pride in ensuring that we arrive in Guam on time as scheduled.
It's our local employees who understand the market, who understand the business, and provide that hard work for you each and every day.
When we hold ourselves to high standards, our customers also hold us to high standards. We establish good business relationships that turn into friendships. That's why it's so important to be here and be trusted by your customers. We want you to trust Matson like your friend, like your family.
Pull, dip, pop, like it's your J-O-B. Cheesy Bites Pizza from Pizza Hut is back, people. Time to go to work on them before they're gone. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
The summer of Jeep, Compass, Cherokee, Wrangler, Cars Plus in Mighty. Your new adventure starts now. Buy the 2019 Motor Trend SUV of the year and get a new Jeep Wrangler Sport for $268 per paycheck. Or get a new Jeep Compass Sport, only $167 per paycheck. Let them hear you coming in the new 2019 Jeep Cherokee. Buy for $205 per paycheck. And get financing as low as 1.99% on all Jeep models. Come see why you'll be kicking it at Cars Plus in Mighty. Driven by you.
What are you gonna do now? How are you gonna push? How are you gonna live? It all depends on you. You ain't got time to be complaining. You ain't got time to be angry. So if you feeling weak and you in that dark place, you better find the light within yourself, because when it's all said and done, we are all brothers and sisters in battle. I ask you to be strong. Whatever challenge you face, there is no obstacle greater Continue. Be productive. Be powerful. And from the bottom of my heart, my name is Coach Payne, and I'm asking you to conduct your business. Go!
Welcome back. Governor Lulian Guerrero says mayors should spearhead efforts to tackle illegal dumps. The governor says people who don't have solid waste disposal services should contact their village mayors for help.
If you need to get rid of your trash, go through the mayor. The mayors are working closely with the Guam Solid Waste Management Program to provide more access to those areas so that they can dump their waste. Yeah. So I'm just asking the community to cooperate and please be responsible and respectful of our environment, because illegal dumping becomes a public health issue.
Well, the governor is urging people to contact their mayors. Mayors, on the other hand, have told us they lack the resources, both financial and manpower, to adequately address illegal dumping. There may also be a difference of opinion in the administration, as Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio said he believed GovGuam should bite the bullet and absorb the cost of cleaning up dump sites while also finding ways to make disposing of trash legally a reality for low to no income residents. Tenorio said that in an episode of KUAM's Cruising. The governor also says education should be an important ally to combat illegal dumping. New voter registration is climbing by leaps and bounds every month now that the Guam Election Commission's motor voter registration program is up and running. The program allows those who are getting a new driver's license or renewing an old one to register to vote, renew their voter registration, and even transfer their voting district.
In the past, before that, we would get 10 to maybe 20 applicants, voter registrants a month. Now we're getting 300, over 300, 350 a month.
Guam's motor voter registration is modeled after similar programs in the States, and it was fully implemented in April when DMV agreed to make voter registration forms part of the driver's license application. The GEC is also using information gathered through DMV voter registration to reconcile the need for voter transfers. GEC's Maria Pangilinan says the bottom line is vote where you live.
That's where you should vote. And so we're finding out that, people who don't live in Umatic still vote in Umatic. So we're hoping that the voters will be aware that now's a good time to transfer your voting district.
Pangilinan agrees that voters who cast ballots out of district may affect mayoral races in the 2020 elections. And she says her agency is working to encourage voter district transfers to minimize the challenges of voters at polling sites. Meanwhile, if you would like to register to vote the old-fashioned way, you can still register at your village mayor's office or at the GEC's office in Hagåtña. The latest in a series of safety town hall meetings will be held in Jigo this week. The meetings, spearheaded by Adelup, were prompted from last month's machete attack in Mangilao. Previous gatherings were held in Tamuning, Dededo, and Mangilao. Residents are being given the opportunity to voice their concerns as well as offer solutions about crime and safety in their respective villages. In Dededo, for example, residents stressed the need for increased police presence and an improvement in response times. This week's meeting will be held at the Jigo Gym on the 24th, beginning at 6 o'clock in the evening. And while the streets of Hagåtña were filled on Sunday to commemorate the island's 75th liberation, and thousands watched the live stream of the parade, in the nation's capital, President Trump also acknowledged the sacrifices of the Marines who lost their lives during the battle. He also paid respects to the more than 1,000 Guamanians who lost their lives during the invasion and Japanese occupation. You can read his entire statement on our Facebook page. We'll also have the full list of winners from the flow competition. Taking home first place in the village category was Santa Rita, and GovGuam agency winner was GPA. Stay tuned. Sports is coming up next.